And I'm going to start this segment, as I've started every segment, with our state representatives. This is where we've had a number of them on so far. And it is the preamble and Article 1, Section 1 and 2 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We've had a lot of long-form two-segment interviews this morning. We're going to have another one here in a moment with Carol Hill Evans. But it goes like this, the preamble. This is to our state constitution. We, the people of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, grateful to Almighty God for the blessings of civil and religious liberty, and humbly invoking his guidance, do ordain and establish this Constitution. We, the people, are setting this Constitution up. Okay, and it goes to Article 1, Declaration of Rights, that the general, great, and essential principles of liberty and free government may be recognized and unalterably established. We declare that, in capital letters, inherent rights of mankind is Section 1. They're very short. Section 1, listed this carefully. All men are born equally free and independent, which is absolutely the way it should be, and have certain inherent and indefeasible rights, among which are those of enjoying and defending life and liberty, comma, of acquiring, comma, possessing, comma, and enjoying and protecting property and reputation, and of pursuing their own happiness, the people pursuing their own happiness. And then under political power is Section 2, and this one is really the one that's we're going to be talking about a lot this week, I think. All power is inherent in the people. In other words, right there it's saying the people are the government. All power is inherent in the people. And all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness. For the advancement of these ends, they have at all times an inalienable and indefeasible right, can't be taken away, to alter, reform, or abolish their government in such manner as they think proper. Does that also apply to the rules that the governmental representatives pass for us? That's a big question, because that's going to be on the table this week. With us this morning, Carol Hill Evans, state representative from the 95th Legislative District. Carol, good morning. Welcome to the show. Great to have you on. How are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm fine. Thank you, Gary, and thank you for giving me voice this morning. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, I absolutely want to hear the voices of everybody involved in this. And I know you're the one state legislator that did not sign the letter the other day, and I wanted to make sure we heard your voice on this as well, because there are other takes on this, and we're trying to, understand during this very strange time, what the best way is for us to, be represented. What's your take right now? We're seeing more and more around the state, Carol, a take on businesses defying the governor's edicts. Obviously, York County did not make the yellow list on Friday. It prompted a letter by a number of your colleagues who signed that letter. What's your take on the whole thing right now?
Well, I read the letter. The letter was one that who can argue with it? I think we're all in the same position. We want our businesses to get back to doing business. We all miss their services. Whether they're big businesses or whether they're small businesses. I think overall the governor has done what he's had to do given the circumstances. We've never gone through this before. It's hard to know exactly what to do and when. So I think initially he's done a really good job at making sure that the residents of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania are safe and informed. And he hasn't done it in a vacuum. He's done it along with, getting advice, especially from the Secretary of Health, who I think has done a very good job as well. That said, I think it's important to know that when you're in a situation like this, you do what you have to do first, and then you go back and you review and you update. And you keep those updates out into the public so everybody knows exactly what is going on. Everybody is not going to like all of the decisions. These are really tough decisions that we're having to make. I do want to say that the letter that was sent, I was not aware of it. I was not invited to read it or to sign it and to submit it. So I just want my constituents to know that it's not that I disagree with that letter. I just was not aware of it, and I was not invited to be a party of it.
And that's one of the things I asked somebody. I said, was Carol Hill Evans, given the chance to sign this? And that's one of the things I wanted to ask you this morning. I'm glad that you said that to us, because I think that's something, again, to me, politics has nothing to do with this situation, or should have nothing to do. If it does, then it's a despicable thing by whoever is practicing that, be it Republican, Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter to me. And so I think that, people, my thought is that people want the very best for our people here. I think that's, and if we're not thinking from that standpoint, then we're electing the wrong people to serve for us, aren't we?
Well, I don't think anybody is thinking against people. I think we're just thinking for people in different ways, if that makes sense.
I'm just saying as a general frame, not any particular person in mind here. That's my point. That I don't think there's any place for politics in all this right now. And unfortunately, in our daily life, politics seems to kind of seep into everything. When you look at this, and you made a great point there, Carol, that initially, getting things taken care of and reacting was important. But there are other things that have happened during that time. Lots more information coming out. We know where generally a lot of this is taking place. We think maybe it's important to quarantine from those who are sick, and yet at the same time, there are many who are not. We found that we can live in a responsible way, going to markets and so forth. And I think one of the critiques of the governor, and again, I have not questioned his integrity on this, nor will I ever. But one of the critiques of the governor is really kind of narrowed down to two places. Number one, the waivers and not getting a complete look at why certain places can operate and other places cannot. Some incongruities there, for example, why various wholesalers are allowed to be open, but the retailers that they wholesale to can't be open. And then the second one is the criteria. We say 50 per 100,000, 50 cases per 100,000, and you qualify. And York County, of course, has 42 per 100,000. And they say, okay, we qualified and we flattened out the curve here. And then the government comes back and says, no, there's other stuff. To me, and I've said this a lot, if government is not transparent in all aspects, then it's bad policy. And that would go for anybody, Republicans, Democrats, whoever. Your thoughts about that, Carol?
I agree.
Yeah.
There's not much you can say. I agree. But when we talk about, York County as a whole, it's not fair to exclude the city's numbers. The city's
no, it's
numbers
not.
Do not. They don't match that. They want 42 for 100,000. We're 44,000, and we have over 160. We're at over 100. And so it's hard to carve us out. How do you say York County is ready when the city is not ready?
Yeah.
And the city is the center of the county. It's also the center of my district. That's the majority of my district. And so we can't be it's hard to say, yes, let's open up the county, but we're going to carve out the heart of that county. What do you do? What do you do with the people of the residents of the city of York? The 95th district. I'm not talking to people that are saying, yes, I can't wait to get back out there. We're all homebound. We're still under restriction. We're all anxious to get back out into society to see exactly what is going on. But there's still a lot of fear out there as well, Gary. I mean,
it's
yes,
interesting.
We want to go back out. We want to have the freedoms that we've had because that's what we're based on, our freedoms.
Carol Hill Evans, representative from the 95th Legislative District, with us here on WSBA Morning News with Gary Sutton. WSBA Morning News with Gary Sutton with State Representative Carol Hill Evans of the 95th Legislative District. Carol, somebody was writing in and asked me a question to ask you, and they said, given that you saw the letter that was written the other day by your fellow, the state delegation, would you have signed that letter? Would you have signed the letter in order to say, York County should open up now? I know what you said just before the break here with regard to York City, where the numbers are higher than they are throughout the county. So would you have signed that letter having read it in the long run?
I couldn't have signed it in good conscience, knowing that to open up right now would include the 95th district, and the numbers in the 95th district do not match those of others within the county. So I couldn't have signed it in good conscience, but not because of any political reason, just because we have to look at everything. And it's difficult sometimes to separate some of the things you have to account for in terms of health care, in terms of availability of health care, in terms of where are the pockets that are still being infected and affected by this virus. And the 95th district, which contains the city of York, where the numbers are the highest, I couldn't in good conscience say that, because that means I'm putting our businesses at risk, as well as those patrons of those businesses. And right now, in conversations with our mayor, we're just not ready right now. And it doesn't mean we won't ever be ready, and it doesn't mean that we're not trying to prepare to get ready, because that really, Gary, is a conversation we need to have. How do we get ready to move forward? How do we get ready to come out of being red and turning yellow? Is it a matter of, do we need more resources at our hospital? Do we need more masks for our residents? Do we need to be getting the message out that we are still under orders from the governor and that we should still be following those orders? And that's the only way that we're going to be able to come out of this the way we need to come out of it. And
your point is a good answer. And you're representing the 95th, and obviously the city is there, and the numbers are higher. Our healthcare system has not been overwhelmed. We saw a lot of models, and they've not been overwhelmed. And hopefully, knock on wood, that's going to stay that way. There are many people in a different situation than New York City that surround New York City here in the county. And I know the mentality sometimes. We look at the city mentality and the county mentality, which we should look at the whole area in totem. And yet at the same time, many people are saying, well, we're not in that situation. And so how do we view that then for the good of all the people in York County, including the city right now? Because you bring up a great point. I mean, how do we view that then? And many people are saying, well, wait a second, the rules have now gone to where we have, basically one or two people making the rules in a situation where the people are the government, and maybe there ought to be other entities involved, like the state legislature being consulted, which represents the most people in this state in terms of electing more people there and more heads working together with the governor. Should the governor invite them to get more involved right now, invite you to get more involved? You're part of that whole body.
Absolutely. That's the one thing that I say that I feel like could have happened better. Kudos to the governor. I'm not in his position, but I'm here in this position. And from this position, I have to say, yes, we have voices too. We are representing 62,000 voices. What are our 62,000 voices, along with the data? What are they saying to us? And to us, I say we need to be having those conversations more often, more openly, and we have to be sure that the information that we're getting is not bipartisan, that it's not all one voice, and that there's a good mix, because all of our districts are diverse somehow. It might not be racially diverse; they're economically diverse.
Sure.
We need to hear those voices, and so we need to be using what we're hearing and taking it to the governor. And so in the letter that was written, when they're saying that they're talking to people, yes, they're talking to people. I'm talking to people as well. And the folks that we're getting, the ones that we're talking about, are frightened because of either their living conditions that they're in, and maybe landlords are not taking care of the property the way they should. They don't know what to do in terms of, I had one person call and say, I don't know where to get these masks. We can't go out without a mask. Yes, you can, as long as you have your nose and mouth covered. So we need to be getting out the information more. And if there are people who are, after all that we've done, if there are people who are saying, well, I didn't know, then we're missing the opportunity to reach them where they are. And that's incumbent on us. But once we get that information, we take that to the governor, and then it's that whole conversation, not yelling and screaming, but sitting down calmly and figuring this all out. It can happen.
Absolutely agree with you.
Obviously, because we're not in control of this. There are certain things that we can do, yes, but we are certainly not in control of the virus, but we can control our actions so that we can try to keep this down. And so it does plateau. And so we can
Carol, I appreciate
go into the yellow.
Right. We're right at the end of our time here, and I appreciate so much your opinion this morning and talking about the city as well. And I couldn't agree with you more. Conversations only happen when two groups are listening. I think that that's the attitude that we want to see, calm heads, and at the same time listening to each other and making sure that we get the very best information to have the very best decisions. Carol, thank you for all you're doing, and thank you for taking the time to be with us this morning. Really, truly appreciate it.
Gary, thank you for allowing me to have my voice and have the voice of my 62,000 residents. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful
I appreciate
day.
Thank you, too. Take care. Carol Hill Evans of the 95th Legislative District here on WSBA Morning News with Gary Sutton.